My name is Eileen. I'm a professor of Spanish here at Loyola. I'm also chair of the Department of Languages and Cultures. We're here at Loyola University to discuss some collaborative research that we have been doing, I guess I should say, over the past close to a year now, probably. This is part of the University Honors Program that they provided us with some support to do some collaborative research with undergraduates. I chose my student here, Florence Clement, who is a senior in philosophy and Spanish.
Yes.
And Florence had a couple of classes with me, so I was very confident in her ability to do some research with me and help me to develop a new class for the honors program. No, I grew up in northern Illinois in a very small town. Went to school at Purdue University in Indiana. My husband is a professor at the University of New Orleans, so we moved down here when I was finishing my doctorate. And it was a choice for the two of us because New Orleans is a diverse community and there are other universities in town. I was fortunate to have a position open at Loyola at the right time for me. And it worked very well for me because I really wanted to work at the undergraduate level. That's something that I like to see students freshman year who then continue and blossom by the time they graduate, to see that progression. And Loyola is a small enough school where often I can follow how my students are developing. My degree is in comparative literature, which has changed since actually I got that degree, but at that point it was basically working within 2 or 3 different national literatures and making comparisons. It became more critical literary theory and some other things along the way. But what I really enjoy doing is working with contemporary issues, social problems that are then manifested in contemporary theater. In Spain in particular, because that's my specialty area, but that allows me again to be interdisciplinary. I can look at works of art and music and how do we see those in contemporary theater, and then how are they used to raise awareness of, say, issues with women's rights, with homelessness, with racism and otherness and so forth. And so it lends itself to great discussions in class, but it also is something I'm just personally interested in. The research was basically to help me develop a class. This is a new topic for me. I had taught various aspects of it in Spanish before, but I was going to be moving this to a first-year seminar taught in English to the honors program, not specifically students of Spanish. And I needed to find some different readings. I needed to find things that would work with freshmen, but freshmen that are top-level freshmen in the honors program. And since Florence is in the honors program and has gone through this, I thought she would be a good resource. She's done some of the classes with me where we talked about the topics, specifically the medieval mix of cultures in the Iberian Peninsula with Islamic control politically, but then the blending of influences from the Arabic world, the Christian world, and the Jewish world during the Middle Ages. And then we're using that as a case study in this class to then jump to the 18th century New Orleans period, when New Orleans was part of the Spanish Empire, and there was, again, a cultural blending between what was already here, which would have been Native American, African, and French, and then the new arrival of the Spanish influence. We are doing a service project as well with the St. Bernard, Louisiana Isleños community, and Florence has helped me with all of that. Actually, you want to talk a little bit about what you've done?
Yes, I went on a field trip with Dr. Dahl to the Isleños community in St. Bernard Parish, and there we got to see a glimpse of what it was like to live in the Isleños community in the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st century, and to see just the assimilation of the Isleños community, who are originally from the Canary Islands near Spain, how they assimilated into a whole new community in an entirely different state that was still under Spanish influence, but slowly became under the French influence, and just the different mix of cultures. We got to see how the Isleños dressed, the foods that they ate, and their interaction with their general community, in Louisiana. We just hope to get this more knowledge out to the freshman class and just to give them, I guess, a glimpse of what it's like to culturally assimilate and just a whole new case study as well. And if you want to add anything.
Maybe the question is also, what are you getting out of this as an undergraduate researcher?
It's just the experience to research. I've never done a research collaboration like this before, and it's just learning the different steps of gathering research, implementing research, and just being able to provide a concise view of what I've researched to a freshman class in a way that they can understand it, and in a way that also inspires them to critically think and perhaps do some research of their own. I'd originally wanted to do law. When I graduate, I would like to go to law school. And looking through all the different schools and what they had to offer, I really liked Loyola's philosophy pre-law program. I think it provided the very necessary classes to inspire critical thinking in me and to inspire critical thinking in my community as well. And I think altogether, just the involvement in the community in addition to the growth of myself as an individual and as a scholar was what really prompted me to come to Loyola, and I've seen that consistently in a lot of the classes that I've taken. So that was a really huge decision for me, and I'm very glad I came to Loyola. The University Honors Program is a program that's catered to specific students that are trying to gain greater academic, I guess, understanding and greater academic, again, critical thinking, and just improving the critical thinking skills of their students, allowing their students to take more advanced classes that aren't necessarily offered to the rest of the student body to prompt, again, more critical thinking, more growth as an individual. And in addition to that, the honors program provides resources to their students that, again, I've been saying this, prompts critical thinking, growth as a student, and just to experience different classes in a different common curriculum setting, and just to provide that academic growth that is necessary for a student here at Loyola University that incorporates our Jesuit values and at the same time prepares them for a very regimented academic life outside of the university once they graduate.
What about the sense of community in the honors program? It seems to me there's a very strong sense of community within the student body.
Yes, definitely. So it's a very close-knit community as well. There aren't a lot of us, and we get to interact with each other on a more personal level. When you go to honors classes, like you said, there's always all honors students, and you get to interact with a different student body, but also a very diverse student body that you may necessarily not get that contact with if you were not a part of the program.
Usually it's done through freshman application and admission process. Did you come in that way, or did you come in after?
I entered the honors program as a sophomore simply because I missed the deadline my freshman year. But usually when you're entering as a freshman, based on your GPA and your test scores, the honors program will contact you and indicate to you, would you like to be a member of the honors program? They have the full criterion of what is required on a sheet of paper, and you read through it. It's a very small application, but it's very concise, and you just go through it and you fill it out. And you meet with Dr. Yavna usually, and she'll tell you more about the honors program, and if you do fit the program and if you are continually interested in the program, you will be entered into the program.
There are certain requirements for grade. You have to maintain a grade
3.3
point.
GPA.
And but it's not impossible to enter, as Florence has proven, that if you're not selected your freshman year, that you can, with a good track record, you can still apply during your freshman year to enter in your sophomore year.
Yes.
And there's a review process for that, and there's a committee on campus that does look at that and give Dr. Yavna support.
Generally speaking, my non-honors experience was just my freshman year, and the classes that I took, even though they were geared towards my major, a lot of them were very general, and a lot of them weren't as critically involved as I would have liked them to have been, and I wanted a different set of classes that would be more challenging for me and that would require me to, again, be more engaged in class discussions, to be more engaged in the reading, more engaged in the text, and also more engaged with my fellow classmates. And I feel as though I wasn't quite getting that in the non-honors program, so I decided, talking to other honors students, asking them about their experiences in the honors program, I got the sense that that is what was promoted in the honors program. So I decided to go through with the application process, and I was very glad that I did.
Well, I started working with honors a few years ago when I came in as the advisor for the large fellowships like Fulbright. I don't do that anymore, but it was a good experience, I think, coming from regular classes within my discipline to, for me, the biggest switch was having to teach in English. I was teaching everything in Spanish, and then suddenly teaching in English. I had to shift what I did. I had to come in with the assumption that they all had read it and understood it. That's not always the case, but you do have a more critical approach. You don't have to deal with content usually as much. One of the things Florence helped me with in terms of the class that I'm teaching now for freshmen is she developed some questions to go along with some of the readings. 2 or 3 comprehension questions and 3 or 4 or 5 critical thinking questions, which is different than what I would do in which I am doing this semester in an upper level Spanish literature course, where if I give them a homework, it's all content question. So you move more quickly, I think, to the in-depth approach to being able to discuss various aspects, and it is something that I can be more cross-disciplinary in my approach. Last semester I taught a course on intermediality in contemporary theater, where we discussed opera, social media, theater, etc., and we did some field trips with that as well. So I think it allows you more flexibility as a professor. I try to be flexible and audio-visual. I like to show slides or PowerPoints in class with photos, pictures. We often go to YouTube to look at film clips. Sometimes have movies on Blackboard that they watch and then we discuss in class. And the idea is often with the Spanish major and minor, they have other interests. So I think often what I try to do is appeal to some of the different interests. If they don't like this particular work that we're looking at, they might be interested in the next topic. And I think by moving the topics throughout the semester, it also keeps them engaged. You might get tired. My students currently are getting tired of Islamic Spain in the Middle Ages, but we're now moving into 18th century New Orleans. And they got very excited. Saturday we did our field trip. We fixed paella and jambalaya. They were able to taste both and kind of compare the spices. Both are rice dishes, but how are they different? How are they the same? So it's appealing to various aspects of their own interests and then connecting them with mine. And I think one of the things that I've learned as a professor was when I was a student and when I became a professor is enthusiasm has a lot to do with engaging a student.
Yeah.
If you're enthusiastic about whatever the topic is, they tend to be more interested.
I took a history of New Orleans class in my sophomore year, and with Dr. Justin Nystrom, and that I found that class to be very interesting because it incorporated a lot of different historical aspects of New Orleans that I wouldn't have necessarily been exposed to in a non-honors class, and it engaged. And it was just a lot of student engagement, a lot of close-knit engagement between the professor and the students, getting us to critically think, getting us to engage in class discussions, and just getting us to think in a more broader aspect in the context of what is New Orleans as a city, how did New Orleans get formed as a city, how are we implementing that structure of society in our current New Orleans community, and how was that reflected perhaps in the Loyola community as well.
I'm going to insert something here. Not all of the honors seminars are about New Orleans.
Yeah, that's true.
But one of the nice things about them is they tend to be interdisciplinary. So you do get a broader perspective, a cross-discipline type of approach. And the classes are relatively small, usually maximum of 20.
Yes.
So you get a better discussion possibility going in the class. Lots of times everyone is at the same level and they're able to interact with the group that they're more comfortable with.
It's a mix of everything. Experience in high school, my high school experience, I took all of the advanced classes just simply because it's part of who I am. I do like to know. I'm very naturally inquisitive. I like to be involved in my community, but I always like to be critically reflexive of what it is that I'm doing. And I feel as though that being here at Loyola University, one of the core Jesuit ideals is, you know, practice in community, and critical involvement in community. And that's something that I've always kept with me, and that's something my parents have always encouraged in me as well. And I think it encourages growth in me as a person, not just academically and not just socially, but spiritually as well. Well, philosophy wasn't necessarily my first love. I wanted to do something related to the law, and just because I want to be a lawyer once I graduate. And looking at all the lists of classes, a lot of them didn't quite appeal to me as philosophy. Philosophy is such a very broad subject, but like I've been saying, philosophy encourages a student to think outside of the box and to be able to use your thinking skills in different situations that again encourage academic growth and encourage growth within one's community as well. Philosophy is not just, you know, we're reading about the ancients or reading about what the ancients did. It's how do you apply those specific teachings of the ancients, the incorporation of your professor's teachings, how do you apply that and show that in your own life and in your own community. And it's just being able to transfer all of the academic thought into an active reality. That's what really appealed to me about the philosophy program. Law is not just, you know, memorization of facts and just bare memorization and just knowing, okay, I know this law, I know this treaty, yada, yada, yada. Law requires you to be actively and critically engaged in what it is that you're doing, to know the difference, not to just incorporate facts into what it is you're doing, but be able to like broaden out those facts and to incorporate other people's perspectives into the facts that you're trying to present and into the facts that you're trying to learn. And I feel as though the philosophy program is a constant message or a constant theme, I should say, within the philosophy program. And I feel as though that together is going to prepare me for the law career that I want to have once I graduate.
And Spanish will help you with the memorization part.
Exactly, yes.
So why did you decide to add Spanish as a second major?
I wanted to do international relations once I graduate, and I think having a second language is a very strong skill to have. And not only that, a lot of my friends that I've met, a lot of them do speak Spanish, and it's just a part of me wanting to be able to engage with them in a more familial level and in a level that was more comfortable with them. And again, there's a really huge Spanish-speaking community in New Orleans. There's a very strong Spanish presence just all over the United States in the Hispanic community, and I just wanted to be able to communicate with them on a level that is more familial, that is more understanding, and also to be able to make that human connection with them. And I feel as though language is a very powerful tool to do that, and once you are removed from that process, it's very, very difficult to sometimes make those connections. Yes, very much so. We have a very large Hispanic community here, and from all over parts of the Hispanic world. We have plenty of students from Puerto Rico, we have students from South America, from Central America, and they all have a sense of their own community here as well, but they're also very involved in the Loyola community, as I see in the Greek life, in the LUCAT programs. It's just a great spread of them across campus, and they all feel welcomed here. They are all actively engaged with other students as well, and they just have a very strong sense as not only am I part of this Hispanic community here, but I'm also a part of the Loyola community as well. The Jesuit ideals, a lot that I've seen is about growth as a person and growth, not just your growth as an individual, but your growth as a unique member of the community. And Loyola's, the classes that they teach and the programs that they offer is a constant reinforcement of not just individuality, but how individuality fits in the giant, I guess, puzzle that is the overall Loyola community. And that is a message that is constantly reinforced, whether you're speaking to a professor in a class discussion, or you're speaking to your classmates outside of class, or whether you're involved in any co-curricular programs here at the university. That is a message that is constantly stressed, and that is a message that I think is important for any individual that hopes to make a great career in their future and hopes to be an active member of their community once they exit the Loyola community and enter into a whole new New Orleans community, or not even a New Orleans community, just a general community in the United States.
And I think that community engagement is also part of it. That is one of the things we did when we went to visit the Isleños Museum here in the local community, not part of Loyola. My students will be doing a service project for the museum, and that's, again, something that the honors program foments, but it's available for any Loyola student. We have a lot of emphasis on service here, though it's not a requirement, it is encouraged.
Exactly.
Well, I think there are many, many reasons. One is to develop critical thinking, which is obviously a big theme for us here today. But in general, you are able to develop various methods to approach any topic. You're able to look at it from different angles. The liberal arts is not as focused as, say, a career track type of subject might be. And you're then able to function in the world in whatever type of job. It gives you a very flexible degree when you finish. People that finish and develop in the liberal arts or sciences in general are able to think clearly, ask appropriate questions, find answers to those questions, and then formulate that into a written document that is clear, concise, and well developed, well written. So all of those things are really important when you get out into a career. It's perhaps something that we've lost a little bit in the recent years in the United States, that students want to come in so they can get a job. And parents, obviously paying a lot of money, would like their student, their son or daughter, to finish with a real career in mind. But lots of times what you need to be able to succeed in whatever career you choose is to be able to think rationally, develop good arguments for your side of the story, and write them clearly. And that I think the liberal arts can do very well. Well, it depends on what they've taken with me, but my own students, in terms of Spanish, I would hope that they have confidence. We want them to develop the language abilities to the point where they can go out into the community and continue to develop their abilities and to connect with community, to be able to use their Spanish in day-to-day situations, whether it's getting fruit at the market or traveling or working in a job where they have some sort of outreach to the Latino community. I think all of those things are important to us. We want them to have cultural awareness, global sensitivity, to be able to work with people from other backgrounds and not be insulting, not be imperialistic about the way they approach people. And I think that if we can accomplish even that, then we've done a lot.
I would advise them to consider Loyola University. That would be the first thing that I would say, simply because of the way the program is structured. The academic programs are structured here, especially in the honors program. Like Dr. Dahl mentioned, they are interdisciplinary. Once you enter in the program, you are offered a very wide range of classes that not only stimulate the different interests that you have, but also academically engage you on a different level, in a more advanced level than what you'd be used to in your high school career. And just as well as the Loyola community, the students that are here, they're very open, they're very warm, they're very engaging, not just in the honors program, but outside of the honors program as well. And you just get, you know that coming here into this university, into this program, you are going to get that sense of growth and that sense of personal commitment and that sense of community that you would not necessarily get in another college, campus, or university that's a lot larger and a lot bigger and a lot more focused on other majors that just don't actively engage you in your community.